speech, I used language to describe it which didn't meet the BBC's editorial standards on impartiality. I'd like to apologise to Mr Farage and viewers for this.
She looks like she's just eaten a bag of lemons.
I know.
She wasn't very
do you accept?
Did you see Nigel Farage's explosive confrontation with the BBC? In a shocking turn of events, the outspoken politician left a seasoned host completely speechless during a live interview. But what exactly did Farage say that caused such a stir? And why did the BBC issue a swift apology immediately afterward? The answers might surprise you, and they reveal a deeper issue within British media that's been brewing for years. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. The atmosphere at the BBC studio was electric as Nigel Farage arrived for his interview. The air crackled with tension, a palpable sense of anticipation hanging over the set. This wasn't just any ordinary political chat. It was a showdown between two formidable forces in British media and politics. Across from Farage sat the host, a seasoned journalist known for their tough, no-nonsense approach to interviews. As the cameras rolled, the host fired off their first question, catching Farage momentarily off guard. But true to form, the political maverick quickly regained his composure, his trademark confidence flooding back. The host, sensing an opportunity, pushed harder.
Everybody wants to stop us. I mean, the political establishment want to stop us. The political establishment do not want change.
It's a victory, it's a win. I have never, ever seen the BBC apologise that quickly.
They brought up controversial statements from Farage's past, clearly hoping to wrong-foot the politician. But Farage was ready. He countered with a barrage of statistics on immigration, challenging the very foundations of the BBC's reporting on the issue. As Farage presented his evidence, the tension in the studio rose to fever pitch. He wasn't just answering questions, he was turning the tables on the entire media establishment. The real enemy is the BBC, Farage declared, his voice resonating with conviction. He went on to emphasize the erosion of public trust in journalism, striking at the heart of the BBC's reputation. The host, visibly struggling to maintain control of the interview, attempted to steer the conversation back to safer ground. But Farage was relentless. He referenced a previous BBC interview where he'd been cut off mid-sentence, using it as evidence of the network's bias. "There's no point in discussing policy with you," he said, his frustration evident. As Farage delivered his blistering critique, the atmosphere in the studio shifted. The seasoned host, usually so composed, began to fumble their responses. It was clear that Farage's unexpected onslaught had caught them off guard. The political firebrand wasn't finished. He broadened his attack, accusing the political establishment of fearing change and using the media to maintain the status quo.
At the start of this campaign, the BBC have behaved like a political actor. I remember the first interview I did on the Today programme, and I came off there and thought, there's no point. There's literally no point. And of course, it's great, isn't it? Rishi gives way to Keir. It's just a change of middle management. Nothing radically different's going to happen.
Everything was done to stop us, Farage asserted, his words laden with years of pent-up frustration. As the interview drew to a close, the host was visibly flustered. Their usual professional demeanor had cracked under the pressure of Farage's relentless assault. The tables had well and truly turned, setting the stage for an even more explosive confrontation to come. This unexpected showdown between Farage and the BBC wasn't just another political interview. It was a microcosm of the larger battle being waged in British politics and media. As viewers watched in shock, it became clear that this was only the beginning of a much larger reckoning. As the interview progressed, Farage shifted gears, turning his focus to the heart of the matter, the BBC's supposed impartiality in political coverage. With a calculated precision, he began to present evidence of biased reporting, citing specific examples that left the host visibly uncomfortable. If you look at the story selection from the BBC, things that activists said became major news stories, Farage declared, his voice rising with conviction. He went on to expose the subtle ways in which the BBC's bias manifests itself, pointing out that the bias isn't always overt. It's the framing of questions, the selective editing, and the subtle mockery of certain voices that reveal the true agenda.
Everything was done to try and stop us. If you look at the story selection from the BBC, things that activists said became major news stories.
No opportunity to talk about policy, about ideas. But what happened on Friday with that question time audience was truly astonishing.
The host attempted to deflect, but Farage pressed on relentlessly. He criticised the BBC's portrayal of his party, Reform UK, as a fringe movement, despite its growing membership. This wasn't just unfair, Farage argued, but a deliberate attempt to undermine alternative political voices. As tension built, Farage challenged the core principles of the BBC, questioning its commitment to fair representation. He dropped a bombshell, revealing insider information about the BBC's practices. Every single audience has been tilted towards either the Green or the Labour Party in the most astonishing way, he asserted, his words cutting through the studio air like a knife. The host, visibly shaken by this unexpected twist, struggled to formulate a coherent response. Farage, sensing weakness, pressed his advantage. He emphasized how the media's portrayal of political parties can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. If people believe a party has no chance of success, they're less likely to support it, he explained, his words resonating with viewers who had long suspected such manipulation. As the climax approached, Farage delivered his final blow, exposing what he saw as systemic issues in the media landscape. He argued that the BBC's practices were symptomatic of a broader failure to represent diverse political perspectives.
Can the Conservative Party claw those votes back from us? They're so split and divided. I mean, the civil war's broken out already.
My first promise to you, if elected to Parliament tomorrow, is I will campaign for the abolition of the BBC licence bill.
The host, caught off guard by the breadth and depth of Farage's critique, was left speechless. In a stunning moment of television, the tables had well and truly turned. The seasoned journalist, known for tough interviews, found themselves unable to counter Farage's arguments. As the cameras rolled, capturing the host's stunned silence, it became clear that this confrontation had transcended a simple political interview. It had become a watershed moment in British media, laying bare the tensions and biases that had long simmered beneath the surface of political discourse. The fallout from Farage's BBC confrontation has been nothing short of seismic. Social media erupted with reactions, revealing a deep-seated disillusionment with traditional media. Many viewers rallied behind Farage's critique, calling for a complete overhaul of political interview practices. But this wasn't just about one fiery exchange. It exposed a festering wound in British media and politics. The BBC, long considered a bastion of impartiality, now finds itself under intense scrutiny. Can it regain public trust? Or has the damage been done? The implications stretch far beyond the BBC's walls.
The fact that Britain is broken, that nothing works, that the population explosion has devalued the lives and quality of life of pretty much everybody.
Application of net zero rules. He is Boris Johnson of, do as I say, not as I do.
This incident has ignited a national conversation about media accountability and the state of political discourse. Are we witnessing the death throes of traditional media, or could this be the catalyst for meaningful reform? As the dust settles, one question looms large. In a world where trust in institutions is at an all-time low, who will step up to fill the void left by failing mainstream media? The answer may well shape the future of British politics for years to come.